Tom King is fired off of Batman. That's what I would be saying if it was actually corroborated or confirmed by any significant source. However, it seems to be that there's a big hullabaloo going on in the comic book industry about Tom King no longer being on Batman. In fact, most recently at the time of this recording, we've only heard news reports from outlets that I love so much that are saying and confirming that like Tom King is no longer on the book. Tom King himself has been on Twitter and said something to the effect of, "I love my fans and I really appreciate all the kind words you've said." It's a very non-committal reply, but also not denying anything either, which he's quick to do if there is a case for that, which he's done on Twitter before. The most recent thing was from Ryan Higgins, who said he heard from DC directly that Tom King's Batman run is ending towards the end of the year, short of his long talked about 100-issue run. He has more projects coming up for DC, which will be announced in the coming months. Tom King signed an exclusive deal with DC when he moved from Marvel to DC to take over Batman and also do a number of other projects, one of which was the Mr. Miracle miniseries and the much maligned and discussed Heroes in Crisis miniseries event that took place. This is only a few of the things that Tom King should be doing with DC over the coming years, though the idea that he's been kicked off the book, supposedly and reportedly, may, put a monkey in that wrench as well. Though I've seen, in fact, Mitch Gerrits, who was working with Tom King on the Mr. Miracle series, had also been quoted in saying that there's lots of really, really fun stuff with Tom King coming in the future for DC in the wake of this. No one, including DC editorial, nor Tom King himself, has said outright, Tom King's run ends at issue 85.
Right.
But according to news outlets and also other creatives in the industry publicly, that is the case. So we're operating on that information alone.
Yeah.
And that's not the point of this episode. We're not going to talk about that. Oh, is he fired or not? That's not the discussion. The discussion is he has said that his story for Batman will be 100 issues. And in fact, only a couple of weeks ago from the time of this recording, he has said that his run was going to be extended by another 3 to 5 issues. So in fact, Tom King's run would include an extra couple of issues. He actually had just finished a meeting with the higher-ups, and not the DC higher-ups, the parent company higher-ups, Warner Brothers, AT&T, who were briefed on King's plan for a, quote, generational change for Batman. That Batman would be changed for generations, and that it would be a huge seismic shift in the character and the book, and that it was a very positive meeting. And then a few days later, we heard about this. So my guess, that's unsubstantiated, and it doesn't matter what my guess is.
No, because
it's not real. It's not based on any fact.
Because there's way too many factors here.
Yeah, it could be that they pretended like it was a great meeting, and then when he left, they said, that's a horrible idea. Let's not do that. It could be that the meeting was not great, and that they were all in agreement that it was a bad idea. It could be that none of that had anything to do with King being off the book.
Or it could be this is a trick of the words, and it's not that he's off the book. He's changing Batman in such a way that it's not going to be called Batman anymore.
Batman will actually, the whole thing is a marketing scheme, and the Batman will end at 85, and it'll be called something like Batman and Son, or some other book.
Right.
Really,
that's literally insane. That is an actual thing that could happen.
That's a thing that practically happened because with issue 50, the marketing team was like, Batman and Catwoman are getting married. Here's an arc about it that leads up to it. Here are 1,000 variant covers. Here's a midnight release, and it didn't happen. Some would say that was a botch.
We're getting married. But that they are getting married. They are in the process of getting married, and then, they don't.
And then they don't.
Hey, look, if they got that license.
Yeah, then they were. But, that was a full bait and switch. Some would say a marketing flop.
Yeah, it didn't really work in their favor.
A bait and switch. It was certainly a rug pulling.
Well, it's not a flop if it's sold
that's
issues.
True. Yeah, no, actually, it was a marketing triumph. Because the book sold like nuts.
No, it wasn't. It just wasn't very kind to those who were excited about that in particular.
Yeah. It was a lie.
Right. It was
Let's
a lie.
just say that.
And
It was,
Look it in
it was a
lie.
fib.
if you could return your comics,
It was a
people
sham.
would have.
Yeah.
But you can't.
But, so, like, that's what I'm saying, though, is that, like, we're just gonna kind of be generally talking about this because we don't have any insider information and we don't know the future.
Well, and the question I want to pose to the group is, let's say, for the sake of argument, that King is no longer writing Batman in issue 85 and it's not his choice.
Okay.
He's cut short.
He's cut short. His story is cut short, or he's being asked to wrap it up.
Yeah, finish
Yeah.
it early.
Yeah. Finish it 20 issues early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that cool? Like, is
Or
that
how
totally
not cool
messed
is
up?
that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. How messed up is that? And should he be allowed to finish? I've seen a lot of chatter where people are like it or hate it, let the man finish the story,
Sure.
Yeah.
I understand.
regardless of whether it's selling well or not. There's a lot of conflicting reports about how well it's selling. We do know that a Hulk book is outselling Batman right now.
Yeah.
So maybe
Right.
that is a factor, but it's something to consider when thinking about this change and this decision. So
Right.
regardless of whether it's cost, whether it's creative,
Yeah.
should the man be allowed to finish his story? Ben.
I would say no. If you want to give someone an idea, be like, all right, look, you have to know what's coming down the pipeline. Like, we need to end it early. We were going to do 20 issues early, but maybe we'll only do it 10 issues early. But you have to approve everything by us so we know what's going on so we can release it. Honestly, if the book is selling poorly, yeah, canon, put somebody else on.
And by the way, poorly is a relative term.
Well, relative
because
to prior.
it's
To
the
Batman.
#1 book at DC.
Yeah.
And it outsells a lot of Marvel books.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. But
You know-
didn't it used to be outselling like every book?
yes. And some would say, and by the way, the book is twice monthly as opposed to when it was on Snyder's run. When Snyder was doing it, it was monthly. And so, yes, Snyder's books did sell anywhere between 95 and 105,000 copies per month, but King's books are 80 to 85,000
Okay.
Each.
twice a month.
Okay. So they are selling more Batman than ever, but they still have to produce it twice. And when you break it down,
the
Yeah.
cost doesn't work out.
yeah, it doesn't
Right.
quite. Okay.
And arguably, like fewer people are following that story.
Yes.
Even if more total books are being sold
Produced.
because you're doing it twice a month.
Exactly.
Interesting.
So, I mean, and that in and of itself, like the fact that Diamond doesn't release their numbers and the fact that you really don't know
it's
how
hard to
books
say.
are sold.
It's very hard to say.
All right, say it's just an issue of cost. What do? Do you cancel other books to keep Tom King running? Do you change the team so that you're putting less money into the book for it to come out so that he can finish it? If that's the case, no, you don't do that thing. You don't screw over other creators just so this person can finish their run.
It sounds to me like overall, you're like, he shouldn't get to finish it regardless of the whether it's because the higher ups say you're losing money, and also because if you get to finish it, maybe other people won't get a chance to write or create something. Regardless, no.
I would say no. I don't
enough.
think there's a good reason to let him continue if so far everything is saying there's a reason why the numbers aren't showing and there's a reason why we want to stop it early.
Right.
If that's already where you're going, you don't say, well, let's just let it go.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's see where it goes from here. I mean,
I really want to end it, and the right financial decision is to end it. But I really want to see what happens.
It's a bad business
There's nobody
decision.
running the company who's
Yeah.
thinking that.
No.
Because they're running a company.
Well, and there's no comic book publisher that would ever do that.
And so far, I haven't seen anything in King's Run that says, oh, no, you have to let him finish because this is going to be great.
Well, also because every issue is essential to the main story. Because I'm here to tell you it isn't. There's an entire arc that is just simply dream sequences. So maybe don't give the guy who's best suited for a 12-issue maxi series 105 issues.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but that's editorializing, and I don't
Yeah.
want to get into that too deeply. But I do want to just pose the question and devil's advocate a little bit.
I understand the idea of letting creators, you give creators a run and you let them finish it.
Yeah.
And I understand, that makes sense probably much of the time. However, we're not talking about a 12-issue run. We're talking about 100 issues.
And arbitrarily so, by the way.
Yeah.
Not
Right. It's 'cause
our
it sounds like a
contract
good
is for
number.
100 issues, or Tom King's best suited for 100 issues. It's simply, I want to have 100 issues straight of
Right.
my book.
And I will keep writing it for 100 issues.
Right.
It's what if they let you? So,
Yes.
and yes,
And I've heard of many
he did plan
stories.
for there to be 100 issues. But if I start writing a book and I say like, I'm gonna write 500 issues of this book and I'm on issue 1, you can't argue that like, well, he should be allowed to finish those 500 issues because he said that's what he was gonna. There's a limit.
Right.
And if it was commissioned as like a 12-issue run and he's at issue like 10, let him finish. Obviously,
we're only 2 issues for.
But we're talking about another 20 issues to finish. That's a lot to just let someone like play out something that you feel is not working.
Right.
That's
I was gonna say like it's another 10 months.
Right.
Essentially,
we're looking at practically a year of publishing.
Yeah. A book
something that is
they don't want to publish.
Yeah, that they don't want to publish, even if it's regardless of cost. A book they don't want to make anymore. I'm going to give you 10 months and 20 issues to continue to produce.
If some of your issues have just been filler, where they really don't add on to the story, the question is like, well then really, what are you giving us?
Right.
He should be able to finish a story that he has been writing, if that has been the plan. If it's not, since he's not doing arc, like every 7 issues or so is an arc.
No, they are.
Oh, it is?
Oh, yes.
Oh, I thought it was one overall arc.
It is an overall arc with mini arcs that are sold in trade paperbacks.
Right. No, I know. But like he does have like, he's like, no, like this is the end of my grand opus here.
Yes.
Right? Like,
it's all part of
I
the
have a
same
plan.
story,
And
but they all have sub arcs that can be read out of context.
Right, which I struggle with because like when you're in, it's like not that a creative line of work is really any different than any other line of work. You know what I mean? You don't fulfill the job you're supposed to do at work. You get fired. You know what I mean? Like that sucks. Anybody getting fired sucks, right? It's not a good position anyone wants to be in.
But let the man finish stocking the shelves.
But like that's what I'm saying. Like it's bizarre because it's like, yet in this instance there are a lot of people who are invested in this who do like
and
it.
not an insignificant number.
No. However, we are talking about DC's flagship book.
Yeah.
And like my concern is that were they to allow him to do that, is DC relies, at least DC Comics relies a lot on Batman.
Yeah.
Right? And so you're talking about not just Tom King and his family, you're talking about DC and everyone who works for them and their families who need Batman to be as successful as possible, along with all of their comics.
Yes.
And
But
so like,
especially Batman.
right, and so like I can see the thought process here if it is simply a financial thing, if they're looking at these numbers saying like our projections are not looking as great as we're hoping and we don't want to be responsible for having to let other people go.
Yeah.
Right. Because Batman
And
can't do
exactly.
what it was doing.
So like that like
Yeah, what if Batman is underperforming at such a rate that we have to cancel other books?
Well,
exactly, or not even just other books. I mean, like literal people who work in the background, like you don't even
we gotta
see,
shrink the company
like editors
because
or
Batman's not
like
bringing in-
admin assistants, like other people like that who it's just like they have a job, but now we can't afford to keep everybody, or everybody like certain people can't get a raise if they deserve it, that kind of thing. Like it's the kind of things you don't necessarily think about because it's like you're always faced with the fact that there's a writer and an artist.
Yeah, and that's all you.
But there's
focus
also
on.
an inker and a colorist, and an editor, and a letterer, and you know what I mean. There's all these people who work on just these books, and then there's all these other people behind them,
Yeah.
and like
There's people in HR, there's the
yeah,
legal team.
there's cover
like,
artists, and there's people who literally go and get paper for other people, and
Yeah.
you know what I mean. Like
It's
there
a
are-
company that
it's-
does all the things that a company does.
exactly,
Yeah,
and it's
a lot
not
of
like
people.
we're not talking about one of the smaller books.
Yeah, we're not talking about Unbeatable Squirrel Girl is ending.
Yeah.
And apparently the creators have been allowed to end it on
Right.
their own volition.
Right, because
They're
it's like
choosing to end the book. And it's been an underperformer monthly
right.
for years.
But it is a smaller book, and it's not really the backbone of, like, probably their financial planning. I gotta say, like, this would be so unconventional, but I'm trying to figure out a way where everybody gets what they want, that DC can let this go and start with a new team, but the fans of King can get the ending that they have been promised this entire
and
time.
they've invested for 71 issues so far.
What if they let King, his colorist, his letterer, his artist,
Yeah, just everyone working on
everyone
Batman.
working on the book, keep working on Batman, but it only comes out digitally.
That'd be
You
something.
cut the printing costs significantly. Diamond doesn't have to worry about selling it. Stores, granted, you're going to have a whole argument there about the local comic stores. But what if you don't sell through Comixology? You only sell it through DC digitally.
That's a good
What
one.
if we're not selling a Batman book then, essentially?
No, they'll still make Batman.
Right.
So
Batman.
they'll do a
there's
separate
another
Batman.
Batman.
Yeah,
number
it would.
86
You would
comes out.
literally no. It would just be they would just restart the numbering just like they did with like when Rebirth came out with King.
Okay.
But would then hit the end of his run become like Elseworlds?
It-
Or do
Is it
when-
or-
where does the new
I don't
run
know.
start?
I
like,
don't
in the
know.
story?
I think the idea is you just tell the new creators like where King's run will
he's gonna
end.
end up.
Right. And
Now,
like,
that being said, though,
Does
I mean,
King
like,
even know?
King said he's going to change the character, or I believe for a generation. So, like, what if that's part of DC's decision to let him go?
That could
Right,
be.
And
they
they're
don't
like,
want
no,
that.
he's not. That's not going to happen, though.
Yeah.
Right.
We saw where it's going, and we don't like it.
and then there
Yeah.
you go.
so
Then
we
that
can't let him finish that story. If he wants to finish a different story,
Yeah.
put it in Black Label.
Yeah, then stick it in Black
then
Label.
that's actually a great idea.
Yeah. No one knows what Black Label is anymore, and it doesn't
It's
matter.
so
So it
nebulous.
could be anything.
So it could literally
It could be
anything.
So it
anything.
could be this.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so the whole thing, it's 105 issues, and it's a Black Label book. And actually, that makes more sense to release it digitally now, and then trade later.
As
and in
Black
fact,
Label.
reprint the entire Rebirth run, Volume 1 all the way to whatever volume we're at now,
Yeah.
with 72 issues.
I mean,
and just
that
repackage it.
could potentially be confusing.
Oh, absolutely.
And
Oh,
I
Yeah.
get, and
They'd have to
if
explain it very carefully.
and if in
And they
fact
wouldn't.
they are going to end up like asking him to leave and end it earlier, the next Batman arc is going to have to pivot off of
Yeah.
that
They're gonna have to
ending.
figure out-
And so that's why I
don't
do.
think they do.
But I was going to say I do like the idea of the Elseworlds though, where it's
Yeah.
like if they do that, and it, like they're like Tom King, you have to end here so the next creative team can keep going. King could then release the like, but what if?
Yeah,
I know you
what
can't
if
say
book.
what if.
Yeah.
yeah,
that's
sorry.
Marvel.
But what then?
What? How about?
There we go.
Instead,
Yeah, this is what would have happened.
Yeah.
And so fans
What would
could
have
grab
happened?
that as well.
Yeah.
Like if they wanted to. Because look,
What, that's
right, but, like,
that's
wait a minute.
assuming that we know why Tom King is being let go of the
Well,
series.
Yeah.
Wait, how about this? Why is Tom King so special? How about every other creator that's been kicked off a book unceremoniously that didn't get to finish their story? Why does King get his own whole book
Yeah.
to finish his story?
I know.
There are many creators over the last several decades who have been unceremoniously kicked off books, unfairly or unjustifiably, or fairly and justifiably,
Well-
that were still telling narratively appreciative good stories that didn't get a chance.
to counter your argument though, Slott did get to finish.
Yeah, he did get to finish his Spider-Man book.
Even though he was at a point where everyone was like, stop.
Everyone was begging him to stop doing that book. I guess the numbers were in his favor.
Well, yeah. But I guess, like, for me, like, here's the thing. we're not, like, nobody here is reading King's Batman.
No, and I'm just devil's advocate.
Right,
Like,
right. But what I was going to say was, like, it's not my cup of tea.
Right.
It's not for me. And
No.
I know that. But I'm not, like, going to go
But
and
you know what it is? It is viscerally for a lot of people. Like,
No,
people
it
are like,
is.
This is my Batman.
Right, and so what I'm saying is though is like while I'm not a fan of this Batman, I can relate to that feeling. How many TV shows have been canceled?
That like only a handful of us enjoyed.
Right, and like you desperately just want more of it, and at times you do get it. In the case
Yeah.
of Firefly, we got Serenity. In the case of Farscape, we got an ending.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like just things that just went away.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and it was like
And justifiably, budgetarily speaking,
Right.
you know, it just didn't sell.
yeah, it didn't sell, right? But like the fan base just wanted more. And
Yeah.
while not everyone was watching Firefly or Farscape or Castle even, honestly, I'm trying to think of shows that were canceled. Deadwood.
Which is getting a movie now.
I was gonna say I wasn't watching that. Like those who were watching it, it meant a lot to them.
Yes,
And so to
exactly.
get any kind of attention means something to that specific person.
Mm-hmm.
And like I don't know. I think like Batman's a large enough character that there's enough room to give him either an alternate ending book or
Right.
whatever. Because like, look, like it's funny, and again, this is coming down to the whole creative job,
Yeah.
right? I've been in positions where I have like not been let go on a project necessarily, but where someone comes back to me and it's just like, this is not going anywhere we want it to. And like for a second you think you might be kicked off of a job.
Right,
As a
right,
graphic designer, if I fail to design something that you want,
Right.
Yeah.
even if you're wrong, by the way, about what you want, like that's their prerogative to get rid of me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I'm not meeting.
Well, they're the hirer, and
Yeah.
their job is to sell whatever it is they're selling.
Exactly.
Their money.
Exactly. If I were an illustrator and I was illustrating a book and I failed to capture the moments they were looking for, I would be let go.
Yes.
I would be given a chance, but then I would be probably let go.
Right.
Because you can't afford to do that.
Yeah. And Batman sells DC Comics.
Yes. However, I mean, Batman is still selling. It's not like it's not selling anything. It's
No.
just,
It's still their number one book, apparently.
It is the number one book.
yeah. So it's like,
But that's kind of the problem. Because
Right.
like Batman, I guarantee, is subsidizing
So many other.
lesser like books that don't make as much.
Yeah.
So
Right.
it's literally like Batman.
Batman needs to oversell.
Yes, you're paying for yourself. You're covering your own expenses. Guaranteed it is.
Yes.
yeah.
But
But-
Batman's carrying.
Yeah, we need Batman to reach Batman's potential, Because if Batman sales drop by 10% or 15%, you're talking about like hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars.
Yeah.
If Nightwing sales drop by 10%, you're talking about a fraction of that. So
Yeah.
like it
Yeah.
doesn't really matter. That's why you can get Unbeatable Squirrel Girl finish, because like, well, you're not carrying the company.
Yeah.
Your sales haven't dipped enough for it to like substantially alter our
And we just won't
projections.
print as
Exactly.
many.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Another way to play devil's advocate about this: what other book at DC is so important to hold on to that you do have to cut King's Run short because it's not
There
performing
simply
as well?
isn't one, because like Superman should be the other book, right? Because Superman is the face of superheroes. He's literally the most recognizable superhero, or at least he should be, next to Batman and Spider-Man. Those are at Marvel, Spider-Man should always be the #1 seller. At DC, Batman, Superman should always be, and Superman's like 4 or 5 consistently
At DC.
At DC, the decision to change King must be financial. Batman sells regardless, right? If people are so unhappy with King's Run that the sales have dipped to the point where they notice, it means that people who are buying Batman because they absently buy Batman
Or you
are
just
not
like,
buying
give me Batman.
it. That like it's actually dipping to a degree where they're like, even the people who blindly buy Bat books because it says Batman on the title aren't buying it. And like that is an unfathomable concept, because Batman should sell X amount of units regardless of who. They should have like a monkey could be typing on a typewriter, and as long as it has Batman on the title, it will sell 75,000 copies. Like no matter of the quality of the book.
But what if Batman always has an additional 30,000 people who buy it
And that's
because
what I'm
they
saying.
like what's happening?
Right.
So like you can't afford to lose those people.
Exactly.
Even if every person who is like a reliable Batman buyer remains a reliable Batman buyer, it's not enough.
It's not enough.
And I guess what they're possibly, if that is the case, that possibly what they're seeing is that it's like, okay, just because they're not buying that book in their rotation doesn't mean they're then spending that money at DC.
Exactly.
They're probably not buying anything at all then.
Right. Yeah, it's not like, oh well, I'm going to look for another Bat type character. Where's Moon Knight? Like, no, they're not doing that.
Yeah, they're just like,
they're saving their money.
Yeah, I'm just not going to
Or
buy
they could
it.
go buy a Marvel book, even if they do want to spend that money. There's no telling they're going to spend
Yeah,
it
no,
with your
it's
company.
true.
So
Instead of
you
spending-
count it as a loss. It's
Right.
a loss.
Or if they're spending $4 a month fewer, maybe they're buying a video game.
Yeah.
Or they're paying their cell phone
You're
bill.
competing with like
Yeah.
Everything.
Yeah, no,
So,
it's true.
yeah.
Now, what does frustrate me about this is the fact that if it is due to financial and it's not something that it turns out
That's
to be
creative.
or turns out to be something that's positive, you know what I mean, where there's like,
No, we're changing the name.
well, we're changing the name, or Tom King's leaving to work on some other larger like project. If it ends up being just that
it's
it is
not his choice. They're kicking him off the
like
book.
higher ups are just like, nope, it's not making money, get out. This is the worst way to do this, honestly.
It's amazing how often that happens.
Because it's
where
like,
they make the worst possible decision.
Yeah, and I mean that because it's just like I just literally made the argument that they're a business, and I know they're a business.
But they're a creative business.
But they're a creative business, but they're still a business. But you just said money is more important than our stories.
Yes.
And I get that. I get that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what you've
but
also
we're not saying that. You're inferring that.
Yeah.
You
And
don't
you don't know. And
You
as
don't
long as
know.
we
I mean,
never show you what happened
do
behind the
actions
curtain.
do actions not speak louder than words? I ask you.
The actions of if people aren't buying the book, doesn't that mean the story is not good enough?
Right. And it's like, that's such a bullshit thing to say.
That is a bullshit
but
thing
it's
to
also the exact thing a publisher would say.
Yeah, no, it is. And it's like, because again, here's the thing. I'm not reading Batman, so I can't judge its story. But history, comic book history, is filled with books that had a great story that didn't sell.
Yeah.
Because nobody cared. And then later
Or they didn't
on,
know about
they were
it.
like, wait, what?
Yeah. Oh, this book was so great. And
Yeah.
where was I?
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Well, many current indie books.
Yeah, or fall into that.
Yeah.
Fall into that, absolutely.
Absolutely.
But not only that, but like nobody wants to see the comic book community divided.
No.
And this run has kind of done that to some degree.
Certainly
I mean,
for
like,
Batman readers.
I'm kind of at this point where look, not everything's going to be my taste.
Right.
And I'm okay with that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like, if someone's enjoying it, cool.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's not like everybody hates it.
Well, also, like, the fact is, like, he doesn't need to be fired for me to enjoy Batman.
Yeah, like, there are plenty of Batman stories for me to catch up on instead.
Yeah.
But this, I think, will create potentially more division, and whoever comes on it next will never get a fair shake.
No, they can earn
Well, not
their
from King fans anyway.
certainly not.
But they might be celebrated by people who hate.
Well, no, and
But
no,
only create further division.
I mean, in both ways. You might have people who are compare him to Tom King and say like, well, I'm going to give this a really hard time, and I'm going to look at it with a more critical eye because it's not the ending I wanted. This isn't the book I was looking forward to. This isn't Tom King's run.
Yeah.
Then you're going to have the people who don't like Tom King who are on this and like, regardless of his flaws, they're going to be like, well, it's not Tom King.
And it's great, yeah,
So
exactly.
like that writer will never actually get to write Batman.
Yeah.
And like
Like,
without
get a
having
fair
to
deal?
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get it.
in a
evaluated
neutral
and, like,
zone.
Yeah.
Well, you know what you do? You just stick some sacrificial lamb on it for like 15 issues,
Yup.
and then you transition
Let's
to
say-
the new
that
guy.
was
And
just
his
No,
name
no.
is Sal Cravelli.
No, my
Yeah, let me
I'll
be the
take
most.
all the punishment.
I'm the Jesus Christ of your Batman book.
No, I had a different version of this. My pitch was you don't have that. You have like a stopgap where you get like
An uncriticizable author.
a Neil Gaiman, an Alan Moore, and
Grant Morrison.
Grant Morrison to come in and write a like mini
yeah,
to cleanse the palette.
Right, that's like maybe it's not in continuity, or it is, or whatever.
Or who cares?
Or
It
like
doesn't
deliberately
matter.
write it outside of that realm. Like
Right.
don't use the Bat family.
Give everybody a chance to just calm down
Yep.
on both sides.
Applause.
Yeah.
Let
and
everybody
then-
yell at it or not, but
and then
like
start.
anew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a good idea financially just because if you get a big character.
you got
on
that too.
You're gonna bet that
Yeah.
groundswell of boost to sales.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got
Yeah.
that too. So you hopefully.
You dig into your pile of like story ideas.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like what do we got kicking around?
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, I think no. It's just like you dig into your Rolodex of key
Well, of
names.
people. Yeah. Hey,
Yeah.
you got a Batman pitch?
Yeah. Neil, you got one? You got a big one. I need a big one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Or a small one, and I'll
Yeah,
make
a
your
small,
name
good
the
one.
big one.
Yeah.
Like,
Like it's just like benign.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it doesn't change. It doesn't blow the doors off.
No,
Change
it's
continuity.
just-
It's just a Batman story, straight
Just
up.
there it is, and then the next team starts over, and they have a fighting chance.
Yeah.
Right.
It's just fresh. New.
I mean, that's definitely the way they
Separated.
should do it, which is why it's almost certain they won't. Because it's not the absolute worst idea you could possibly do. And that's like what seems to be the decision-making
Hey.
capabilities of publishing. Is like, what's the worst way I can eat this shit sandwich?
Yeah.
I mean, you might have people that also just don't look at it like, oh, well, I'm just not a fan of Tom King, but I want to read Batman.
Right.
I mean, I'm sure there are people that are like, it's not been my cup of tea, but I still like the character, so I've been buying the book. And they might just look onto it and be like, oh, well, someone else is coming on. Okay, let's
Well,
see what they
it's
have.
not going to stop me from buying
No,
it.
and we absolutely will have those people. It's just not an ideal situation. You know what I mean? And
It's not a situation a creator would want to necessarily be.
Certainly
yeah,
not.
the creator coming on, the creator leaving. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like, by the way, speaking of worst possible ways to handle this, like, man, I bet DC really wishes they had control of the narrative.
Oh my god.
Yeah, because at this
What
point,
happened?
well, there's just all these rumors all of a sudden, and like regardless of what ends up actually coming out as the truth or what DC
It will always
say,
be colored by
there will all be all these other
perception
things going
and-
on.
Yeah, I mean, like, I saw an article that was like, this is what Tom King tweeted 22 minutes ago. And the tweet was deleted. So there was no evidence of what was said. And I'm like, this is not an article. This is just you feeding into
Yeah.
the machine. The machine, by the way, of thousands. Not like, this isn't a Vanity Fair article.
Right, this
No.
is Tom Cruise we're talking about here.
Yeah, we're talking
We're
about
talking
like,
about Tom King
Yeah.
writing a comic book.
yeah.
And we're treating it like it's Entertainment Tonight. Like,
Yeah,
what is
exactly.
happening?
Well, it's like, and then you get down to the fact that like some news outlets are so hungry for
Any
like,
click.
Yep.
of any kind that they'll do this. They'll stir the pot.
Yeah.
you know
Or they
what I mean?
deliberately stir the pot.
And it's like, again, we don't know what's actually happening.
right, and
Good,
I shouldn't
bad.
even know. Like,
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
should not be a
I would
discussion.
prefer not to know.
Yeah.
I would prefer if DC really made this decision if they told nobody.
Right.
And then a few months from now announced,
Yeah.
the Tom King's like last issue,
Yeah.
he'll be wrapping up his story. And,
20 issues
and
early.
they spun it like that's what he wanted to do.
Yeah.
And
I mean,
discuss
that
it.
let's
may
work
be
it
a
out with
lie,
him.
though.
Now,
the
it-
point is
Yeah,
that
that's fine. Companies lie all the time.
Yeah, exactly. Like it
That's
sucks.
what they do.
Like, listen, like if as a purveyor of the truth, I do agree that is shitty.
No.
But like, if we're talking about companies and what their prerogatives are and how they should be handling it, if like Tom King should be allowed to finish his story, it's like, well, you should have lied.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
You should have
From a
controlled the
PR
narrative.
standpoint,
Like
you
what?
have to.
If you have to fire him, then you also have to control how that information was disseminated to the public.
Yes.
And it's like, if you drop the ball there, then maybe you shouldn't be firing him. Like, maybe your decision to do that in the first place is faulty.
Yeah.
If your inability to control a story that is for a cast of thousands as opposed to millions or hundreds, if anyone actually cares, because we're talking about a percentage of a percentage of a percentage. Like comic book readers, maybe like 200,000 people. And then it's like, comic book readers who read Batman. We know that's like between 80 and 120,000 people. But then there's those people who read the internet for news about the behind the curtain. Like, that's like 20,000 people. So it's like, to entertain 20,000 people.
Yeah.
And these are all made up numbers.
Yeah, there's
but I'm
just
just saying, like, to entertain a fraction of a fraction of a fraction, you've like destroyed.
Well, I would say DC isn't trying to entertain those people. DC
No,
just
no.
failed to prevent those
Well, I
people
thought
who are trying
I
to
feel like
entertain
you
from
meant
getting...
the news outlets.
Right, the
that
news
were-
outlets.
that's-
Oh, well, you can't.
that they were
They're-
trying to
they're
entertain.
horrible. You can't
Yeah.
control that. I mean, they
Well,
just they're
yeah.
like we'll die though.
Yeah.
we'll die without that.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'm not
we're never
blaming
gonna
them
No,
not,
this is bread and butter for them.
Yeah,
we're
I'm not-
never gonna not do
Right,
that.
And I'm
And
not blaming them for not jumping on the story. Like, it's not like,
Right.
sir, please,
No, the
we need to
problem
sit on
is
this.
that like
no, it's-
DC needed to not let them find out.
right.
Yes.
How
From a
did they
standpoint.
fuck that up?
Right. And like honestly, I will give them props. They haven't had any sort of knee-jerk reaction.
Right.
yet.
Like they
That's what it's
usually
They
do.
usually do. And
Like
what's
when, let's say Batman's penis is exposed in a comic book that they published,
knee-jerk.
that they created a line to be able to publish.
And then they backpedal.
What?
And see, that's what is
that was
interesting
Warner
now.
Brothers.
Now that all these rumors
But this
have,
might be Warner Brothers too.
well, yeah. But as I say, all these now that all these rumors are million.
Yeah, now
literally
you'll
it's the
never
rumor
get
mill.
the truth out.
You'll never get the truth. And if DC, like whatever DC ends up doing, let's say they don't, and they just let him finish it.
Right.
People will be like, "Is that a reaction?"
Right.
Right.
would
Did they
like-
cave?
Yeah. You
Did
won't.
DC cave to fan pressure?
The fact that they haven't said anything makes it seem like they're trying to figure out how they're going to
yeah,
Yeah,
spin
they're
this.
just,
not
everything's on
planned.
fire.
Or
They're running around.
they're like, haha, we got him.
We got him.
Yeah, people are riled up about it.
Talking
they're
about us
talking
now.
about us.
Yeah.
I bet we're going to see a spike in Batman
No
sales.
Yeah.
such thing as bad publicity. Yeah, like, well, why do people hate this book so much? Let me go find out.
Yeah, actually, I'm really enjoying it.
Yeah,
Now
oh,
I
that's
want to see
pretty
the book continue. Like,
DC cancels highest ranking comic book
yeah.
team.
No, it's true. I mean, like the fact is, it could be. I mean, that's positively Machiavellian, and it gives
No,
them
it
a
is.
lot
It
of
is.
New Coke.
It gives them a lot of credit.
I don't. Yeah, I know.
I believe the new Coke was
That
a
gives them
botch.
too much credit.
them
Yeah.
too-
Oh, New Coke was a botch.
Yeah, but like it's a brilliant piece of fiction to imagine that it was actually
brilliant-
engineered
Well, it's
to
a-
fail
it's a
so that
brilli-
Coke would come back
It's
and
a
be
brilliant
classic.
spin.
Yeah,
Like it's all about the spin.
That's good spin.
Machine, yeah.
Yeah.
And so far, we haven't had a spin from DC.
No, we
No,
have
we haven't
idea.
had anything yet.
Which tells me that it was an accidental release.
Absolutely.
Because they would have, if it had been deliberate, they would have had the message already, presumably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, and I
If
would.
DC had released it.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah,
I'm saying.
well,
Like,
that-
as the
if it was
company,
part
it could
of like
be...
a marketing ploy. I'm
No,
saying.
Yeah.
I saw a tweet from a writer from a rival publisher make a more declarative statement about it than I did DC in any capacity.
Yeah.
And King's like, "Thanks for being a fan." Tweet
Right. Now-
isn't an admission of anything.
No, and that could also be depending on what's in his contract. He may not actually be able to say.
Oh, I'm
anything.
sure he's not allowed to say anything.
You know
about
what
it.
I mean? And so like him not saying anything right
But he's
now.
Tom King. He should be able to like wave his dick around. He shouldn't have to do anything. Like,
He's still an employee.
right? But like,
And he wants to get work at other companies.
Well, it's not just that.
but Marvel
like-
doesn't care.
Or maybe he's just being kicked off Batman, but he still wants to work at
He
DC.
definitely,
Right.
yeah. Well, he's.
Yeah, you can't
I mean,
burn
he's
that
got a
bridge.
contract.
Yeah, you don't. And like so, like legally speaking too, like
Yeah. Well,
If he's a smart person, he will follow.
let the
instructions.
machine run. Yeah.
it does just suck that if this is the course of this, then like it didn't come from DC or Tom King directly.
Yeah,
Like
sure.
they should be able to tell their own story.
Yeah.
Ha.
So should Tom? I mean,
I
like,
don't-
I think that there's room. It's not. I don't believe he has any more of a right to finish his story than anybody else, because so many other creatives have had their stories wrenched from them unjustifiably.
Right.
But it's Batman. There's room.
Yeah.
There's literally a Snyder Capullo book that's coming out that will sell like gangbusters. They get to do their book. King does his book.
Yeah.
Tomas is doing his book.
Yeah.
There's enough Bat books and enough money for that title for him to be able to finish it.
Yeah.
There's money to be made.
Yeah, I have a feeling that it might really be just they didn't like the direction
Yeah.
that it was going to go.
And
They're like,
this-
oh no, we can't do that. And so if
Right.
you can't do that, then it's like, well, then there's no point. And he might have even decided, well, if they're not going to let me do that.
Yeah, like this is the story I wanted to tell, and if I can't tell it,
He's
then
Conan
like
O'Brien.
maybe I'm good. Like
Yeah.
I can wrap it up at the end
That
of the
being
year.
said,
then.
Yeah.
following the same logic train about the money and about how there's room for King to finish his story, that sounds to me like DC didn't make this decision because Batman Damned #1 sold like nuts.
Yeah.
And all they had to do was print more, and it would have been the #1 book for like a month or two.
Yeah.
And they didn't. That's like the first time I've ever heard of them ever doing that. And it wasn't because DC said, we don't want to make money. That was from a Warner Brothers decision.
Yeah.
And for me,
Yes.
this is the exact same thing. If you are throwing money away by not manipulating Tom King fans into buying 2 Batman books, then that's a Warner Brothers AT&T decision. And they're just like, I don't know how the comic book industry works. All I know is I don't want his status quo to interfere with the plot of the Batman.
Yeah. Well, it's like I may know how the comic industry works, but I don't care.
Right.
Because what I care about
is my bottom line.
Everything else that's related to Batman that's
Right.
not a comic book.
Yeah, is
'cause I make more
Batman
money there.
toothbrushes.
Right. So like if whatever he's gonna do, which I know what it is,
Might rock the boat.
yeah, then it's gone.
Then it's gone.
Then it's done.
Exactly.
And I will make that decision in like a second.
Yeah, and I won't think about it again.
Yeah, I already stopped thinking.
Right,
About it. I stopped
and-
thinking about it 10 minutes ago.
I'm thinking about lunch.
And DC Publishing, like everyone at that level who is so important and so high up, are powerless.
Yep.
Yeah.
And they're just like
it.
they're just beholden. They're like, look at all the money just sitting on the table.
Yeah, that's comic
Yeah,
book
for
money.
DC.
Exactly.
And
That's
Warner Brothers
chump
says,
change.
no.
Yeah, that's not
That's nothing.
that. It's funny you think that's a lot of money.
Listen. Have you ever seen Harry Potter money? I'm just
Right.
wondering. Like, have
Yeah.
you ever seen Harry Potter money?
What,
No.
you mean like
Right.
gold coins?
No.
And gringotts?
No. I got my own Gringotts.
Yeah.
I'm swimming in a vat or a vault
Like
of
Scrooge freaking McDuck.
Batman Nolan trilogy coins.
I'm still
and
making money
you're
off
telling
it.
me that you're worried about the bathtub of money that you're losing here.
Yeah.
We're on 2 different planets, man.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's probably why like there's so much misinformation and why there's so much like hearsay and discussion because like we're talking about 2 different industries that are in bed together that probably shouldn't be.
And it's a possibility that DC cannot come out against Warner Brothers and be like,
yeah, they can't.
it's
Oh,
not
They can't.
honest.
Oh, it's not
no.
even a possibility. They
Oh,
just
yeah.
can't. There's no way that
Straight
DC
up
could say
cannot.
like, listen, everybody, I want Tom King to finish
hear
it,
you.
but Dad says I can't. I'm
Yep.
sorry. That's the breaks of being
Yeah.
owned by a parent company. You should see what they won't let Marvel do. Wink. Like that. I'm sure that would be satisfying for a minute to tweet, but it would be their jobs.
That would be
career
the end of
suicide.
them.
Yeah. And so
And every
this
future
is
job.
probably like,
We're all speculating
cynically
here,
speaking, this is
but-
probably the best decision they can make.
I guess. Well, again, that's only saying if it is a negative thing,
Right.
and not someone's misinterpretation of knowledge. Because I was just thinking about his conversation with Batman or with Warner Brothers about the
about the
and how
future of the-
positive it was.
Yeah.
What if that conversation was, okay, King, you can't do that. How about instead you come consult on the Batman, and we're going to pay you a load of money. You're going to have to wrap this up at the end of the year because we're going to need you.
Yeah. I have to finish. I'm not going to get my 105 issues, but I will be getting a lot more money because I'm going to be an executive producer.
You know what I mean? And so what the news outlet hears is King's getting kicked off the book.
Yeah.
They don't hear the because of XYZ that might be
Yeah.
happening.
He is getting kicked off the book, though.
but
He's not
maybe-
going to be able to finish that story,
but
and that's
maybe-
what the
You still
fans
clicked on
want.
my website, though.
Now,
Well, that's what the DC comic book readers
well,
care
he
about.
didn't. Maybe
Yeah.
he can't finish up his original story, but he's like, I got a new story.
Yeah, I got another one.
You're
It's
gonna
called.
like that
It's
story.
about an XCI agent who makes a lot more money.
No, I mean, like, I'll finish up this other version of the Batman story, and you're gonna love it.
Yeah,
It's great.
exactly. I mean, like the reality is like that could be it. Any of it could be it. But objectively speaking,
Yeah.
oh, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say what would suck is if that was the case and Tom King was like, okay,
Yeah, bye. Oh, I don't care about these people.
I don't care about Batman or the character.
I mean, I care about Batman as a movie character.
I had an idea for a story, but if you're gonna pay me like 20 times the amount,
This is
like-
all speculation.
all speculation, all fake. Should he be allowed to finish it? Just objectively speaking,
wants to.
should he be allowed to finish? If he wants to finish it and he's being kicked off against his will, should he be allowed? Should DC make allowances to give him his 20 issues?
No. It's got to be a company decision. If the company decision is to kick him off, the artist can't be the creator cannot say you have to let me finish. I'm sorry.
No, they can't. Should the fans be demanding that though? Is that a reasonable thing to demand?
The fans are allowed to demand that if they want to.
But they ain't getting it.
The fans can say, like, I'm not going to buy the next issue that comes out. And they can threaten
Would you
that.
call for that?
I don't
As
think...
a fan, would you be like, you're right, fans? Like, that's bull crap, what DC did. Like, how do you feel about it? I understand what you're saying. Like, it's the company's, like, saying no, and, like, they can do whatever they want. So, like... No, but like, what do you like?
Okay, so
how do you feel?
Should I get to a point where the fans say, and now I want Batman to like just start killing all of his villains, and the fans call for it enough? Should he do that? No.
Yeah.
So
because you care about like the character.
Because I care about the character.
So how do you feel about this particular issue with the character and the guy who's writing him not being able to finish writing?
That's just it. I have no investment in the character and what Tom King is doing right now.
Right. So you're just like, objectively speaking, I don't think it's a good idea.
I think if the business is going to do it, the business has to say, no, you're kicked off.
Right.
And I don't think Tom King or the fans should petition hard enough where DC backs off. I think that would be a bad decision company.
Yeah, it would look bad. Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I do, though, like the idea of giving it another path, an off-ramp.
Into shoot.
So it's like, no, you can't write Batman 85 through 105.
Yeah.
But you can write... like the Adventures of Dark Batman, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, Batman Nightmares,
issues 85 through 105, and it's gonna be over there.
Yeah,
but like we're saying, Batman is going over here.
And if it sells as well as the primary book, you can write that Batman till the cows come home.
Yeah, you want
write 200 issues.
Yeah, whatever.
Yeah, I think that if it were at issue 50, absolutely not. But the fact that he has 20 issues left, I think the book sells well enough. Why not?
It's a little more than
28.
It's 28.
No, 28. That sucks. That's half of what. That's a little more than half of what I said was inexcusable.
Yeah.
But I think the book sells well enough, and I think that I'm not enjoying it.
Yeah.
But it's gonna end soon. Like there's a light at the end of the tunnel.
Right, just let it end.
Yeah.
But what if it changes Batman forever in a way that you think sucks?
I know it won't. Because there is no such thing as forever in comics.
They can just undo it.
They could literally undo it
Let
tomorrow.
Let him finish the story and then just undo
King's
it.
making changes in Heroes in Crisis. I guarantee you, they have a story ready to unmake the whole book, just in case the last issue sold worse than the first issue. Like I have no belief in permanency in comics. So like for me, as a seasoned, some might say grizzled comic book reader, I would say like why not?
Right.
Like
so when
don't ask for more, but like you finish your arc so that at the very least I can judge it based on what it was able to accomplish. So like when fans tell me that Tom King's run was the best run of all time, I can declaratively say no.
Yeah, and they can't say
well,
he wasn't able to finish it though.
Exactly. Yeah, now I can't ever criticize Tom King's run because is wrenched from him. And then at the very least, you can have your book and say, this is the book that I asked for. And if I didn't like it, I don't like it as a pure product.
Right.
Right? I mean, like, as a completed thing that didn't have any blemishes, and it was King's book to succeed with or ruin. Right? As opposed to like DC being like, I think I know better. Like, you by and large don't. What do you think?
I think I don't ever want to be in the position of making a call like that to cancel someone's creative work.
Like right before the finish line?
Right before the finish line, and also like having to look at like, financials and be like, I don't know, I can't see into the future, but it looks like it's not doing well.
Yeah, exactly. The fact is, the whole system's broken and there's no real way to look at like pure numbers. So,
So-
I'm really
Well,
basing
they
this on.
can look at pure. We can't see the numbers.
Right, but I mean,
they
even
must
still,
know.
you can't look
fair.
to what's going to happen. You can't
Yeah,
look to
you
see
don't
what's
have a
going to
crystal
in the
ball.
next arc, how things are going to
Right,
go.
like, what if his generational change for Batman actually was going to get in, like, new readers that they desperately
literally
want?
wouldn't like you couldn't pay me enough money to want to make that choice.
could pay
No,
me
you
enough.
probably could.
Oh, you
Yeah, you could pay
I
me
make
enough.
12 of those decisions a day
But
for the right number.
like I'm so like on both sides of this
Yeah.
because I'm just like financially speaking, I don't want to see DC like suffer.
Yes.
As a company
Well, I
as a
don't
whole.
wanna
And I don't
see-
mean like the upper echelon. I mean like the everyday working folk.
Yes,
Yeah.
but also I don't want to see like people who like lesser selling books
Yes,
to lose their book.
To lose their book because that's
to
also
burn,
not fair. But on the other side, I don't want people who are invested in this story to not get
lose their
an
story.
ending. You
Yeah.
know what I mean?
It's
Like
not fair.
you've put a lot of time, those who have read it for this long.
Yeah.
And I mean that like I'm not saying
No,
that as
71
like a joke.
issues
That's
so
a
far.
long time to be reading the book.
Yeah, and with the knowledge, at least 2 arcs in, that it will end at this point.
Yeah. I mean, I guess that's about 3 years if it came out twice weekly.
Yeah.
Does that
It's
seem-
about
yeah.
But you're still getting 14 more issues
Right.
to wrap it up.
I mean, like the fact is,
Yeah, but it's
if,
supposed to wrap
if
up way
one
after
arc
that.
wasn't a dream sequence, maybe you'd have more books to finish.
Well, at the
Could've
time
wasted all that time.
But see, that's the whole thing.
But I know it's part of the whole thing.
It's the whole
supposed-
thing. It's like hindsight's 2020.
And
If
the
he had known, maybe he wouldn't have put that in.
Well, but also like if he's best suited for maxi series and mini series,
Which-
and he knows how to construct, then maybe he does have like a master plan, and like that dream sequence arc is like so essential.
Oh, when you get to the end, you're gonna
be like,
understand
"Whoa!"
Which, look,
why
here,
I
if,
had to
if
do
that was, that's cool and
Yeah.
that's great.
We're
And
not
what
talking
a
about-
payoff that would be for those who are fans and who are reading it.
Exactly, and of
But-
which there are many.
Right.
But sometimes you don't get to finish.
Right.
Sometimes life's not fair.
And if you're planning 105,
That's a little ambitious.
No,
runs,
I know.
You gotta expect
But
that
there-
like maybe I'm not gonna be able to get.
But
to
now,
the
can
end.
you imagine though? Like, think about this for 1 second. You're a smaller creator working on books at DC or Marvel, right? And you're watching this go down right now.
Right.
Someone who's writing Batman who is selling well, maybe not as well as they want, and they
got fired.
They got fired.
Right, like this
How
Eisner-winning creator,
Yeah.
who's the top talent in the industry right now,
Yeah.
who's writing the flagship #1 selling, anyone could write this book and sell it
Yeah.
title
Yeah.
for the most recognizable superhero on the planet, got fired.
Yeah. How
24 issues or whatever, but before the end.
28? Yeah. How terrified are
Would you be?
of like
Your
trying
6-issue
new
arc about
things?
Moon Knight.
Yeah. Well. But,
And like, how much can that possibly in the future stifle the creativity of those who just want to keep their jobs?
yeah, I hear you, but like that's how it always is, isn't it? I mean, Enterprise didn't expect to get canceled after 4 seasons.
Right.
We're in a cutthroat industry. Like if you
Yeah.
haven't figured that out, that like anybody can get like cut off in the middle of their story, then
Yeah.
like you're gonna learn that lesson eventually.
Right.
So like yes, it sucks, but unless the whole industry is like about to change and never do that, I'm gonna say like you might as well learn that.
I guess I'm
now.
just concerned with the optics of this very specific situation and the potential path that this will now take if this is what ends up happening. You know what I mean?
I will say that positively speaking, DC will definitely not let this happen again.
Well,
The
yeah,
the way it happened.
right. Which is like, and I get
But that
that.
also
Don't
means like
imply
maybe
that
they'll.
someone's gonna get 100 issues.
Right. Well, not even the 100 issue thing, but,
But also,
that,
like, maybe more, well, maybe what you're about to say.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Editorially, they'll be more stringent and more, like, overbearing on their creators. Like,
Right.
whoa, what direction is that character going?
that is that's like that could be good and that can be
Well, it's
bad.
pretty controversial.
But I don't like that. But my other concern would be like if they're like we're never like we won't take a risk like this again.
Yeah.
How often then will Batman or other books be changing writers and teams for the good or for the bad?
Yeah.
Like you know what I mean? Like
Well, and how fresh will the character feel after 20 years? If, like, we're not allowed to make changes and
yeah.
and
So
take
it's
them
like
in different directions.
there's no way of knowing.
But that being
with
said,
this.
like, if you have a bold new idea for Batman, there's about, like, 4 different labels you could use
No,
to
it's
tell
true.
that story.
It is true.
And if it outsold
Yeah.
the main Batman book, then I guess that's the new status quo, isn't it? I mean, like, that's going to be how it goes.
Yeah.
Or at the very least, you're going to be the new new hotness that's brought onto the title to write that story.
Yeah.
I mean, like, I always maintain. I remember when Amazing Spider-Man was so disappointing, and they were doing the Renew Your Vows story that was set in a different universe.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, listen, buyers, if Renew Your Vows outsells Amazing Spider-Man, that's going to be the status quo.
Yeah.
Because they're going to say, oh, They're jumping ship to this book. They want that. It didn't.
Right. But it could have.
It sold pretty well. And it did send some of a message where it's like, there are people who want that. There's still a number.
Yeah.
You know? And they're definitely buying the Amazing book if they're buying that one.
I mean, there's a message right now being sent that people are still reading the Tom King run.
Right. Oh, yeah. No, it's bad. I mean, like, it's selling. And there's such a visceral reaction to this change that, like, they're enjoying it.
This rumor.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're talking about people making a ruckus on the internet. That's not the same as people buying the book.
Yes.
And it is a fallacy that, like, we all know that
One
for every
tweet.
comment that is negative, that represents 5 billion people.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a Family Guy joke, but like,
like, no, it's true because that is how a lot of publishers in the last like decade have been influencing policy. Is they're like, the Twitterverse blew up about this, and it's like, yeah, but like people still bought the book.
Yeah.
Or
You've
like,
heard of ghost
didn't
accounts,
buy the
right?
book.
yeah, like people can manipulate social media and do for less.
But no one's just gonna buy thousands of copies of your books just to improve the numbers.
Yeah, I mean, like they tried. I know that, like,
Yeah,
I remember
but
when Serenity didn't do well, and they came out on DVD, and they were like, "Okay, Browncoats, everybody buy 5 copies of the DVD," and I'm like, "No."
There's not
Oh
going to
my
be enough people who will
god,
do that.
no,
to
it's a little
actually-
cringy.
I was like, "Oh, I'm not going to do that. I'll buy the one."
yeah.
I'll just buy the one.
Do you think he should get his ending or not?
Yeah.
Should it be an offshoot? What do you
Right?
guys think? Get a terrible team.
Yeah,
That
the
way
worst-
everybody can
a
come
ringer.
together
Oh, yeah.
and hate
Yeah,
them.
well,
Hate on that.
Well, the producers it up.
yeah.
It'll sell so
They
well.
sell so well that they have to be the longest running team.
Well, no, they'll do terribly, so everyone will still think of Tom King favorably when the next team comes on.
They'll be like, "Thank God they're here."
Yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
No, we got to producers it up where we think it's going to be a flop.
That's what I'm
then
saying,
it
and
turns
then-
out
but
to
it
be
outsells everything,
No,
and they
I
just
don't-
keep them on.
no, I
and
don't
it's
want that.
Just a shit show every month. They're like, "I can't believe it!" Just All-Star Batman, Robin, the Boy Wonder all the time.
Yeah. Just paint Batman green with yellow stripes. Well, they can't possibly like this.
Oh.
Put a saddle on it.
Yeesh.
No, anyway, we'll see you guys next time with another episode of Comic Line when another crazy thing happens in the world of comics that we can talk about for a while. I'm Sal.
I'm Ethan.
I'm Ben.
And I'm Tiffany.
Thanks for watching.
You were talking about He-Man there. weren't
Yeah,
you? That's
yeah.
what I was talking about. Yeah. I realized that now.
I was doing the
I
Battle
just
Cat origin.
remember that now.
Yeah.
Were you going to do the thing where we're all like, we talk about it afterwards? Like,
Yeah.
we go in for the...
Oh, yeah.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, Ben
Ben's
laughed.
hiding.
Ben,
You can see him in the corner.
Oh, damn it.